Good Wednesday morning. It's September 16, 2015 here in the Thomas Loop Radio Show for AM 1440 WJJL. It's a great week. You know, I've often said on previous broadcasts, there is nothing like being a Western New York sports fan waking up a morning after a Buffalo Bills victory. And that's what happened this past Sunday at Ralph Wilson Stadium. I'm also Captain Obvious. We're in Wednesday. The game was Sunday. And I have on line one a gentleman who began his career as a sports writer and columnist for the New York Post, where he was named one of America's leading sports writers by Esquire. He has won Emmy Awards for producing and writing at CBS Sports for the past 26 years, has produced these sports reporters on ESPN. He's on line one, the author of Second to None, The Relentless, Drive an Impossible Dream of the Buffalo Bills by Triumph Books. Joe Valerio. Good morning, Joe. Thank you for being on again.
Good morning, Tom. It's great to be with you again. The only thing longer than my tenure, it seems, with the sports reporters on Sunday mornings is the Bills' absence from the postseason since 1999.
That's a good point.
that might change this year, though. Let's hope, right?
It's looking pretty good, and what I got out of the first week is you had requested to me, and I'm greatly appreciative of moving forward with the topic, is this past game. It seemed like Tyrod Taylor was held back a little bit, that he seems like he knows more than what the coaches of opposing teams in the NFL perceives him to know about the quarterback position. I kind of like what they did with Tyrod Taylor this past Sunday.
Well, it's a very interesting situation because, as everyone knows, you know, he was Joe Flacco's backup in Baltimore, and now he's being called on to lead the Bills, and are they going to let him manage games or can he win games? And that's really going to be the litmus test. I mean, as everyone knows, quarterback is the most important position in team sports, with possible exception being a goalie in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's what's held the Bills back somewhat in the past. And they've never really had a star quarterback since Jim Kelly, and that's what you really need. Somebody that has a swagger, has a confidence about him, that that really leads the team, that the team believes in, that he can get it done in crunch time. And it'll be interesting to see if Taylor can be that quarterback. But I think these Bills are going to have to win with defense.
You're listening to the Thomas Loop Radio Show on AM 1440 WJJL, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York. On line one is the author of Second to None, The Relentless, Drive an Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills, and producer of ESPN, the sports reporters, and the family of ESPN networks. It's Joe Valerio. Going back, what did you get out of Tyrod Taylor? I mean, we pretty much had a predictable view of what the defense is going to be, and they seem like they're only going to get better. And in spite of two guys getting knocked out of the game early, and I believe it was Graham and I can't recall the other player from the defense, but they were out of the game, but they picked up where they left off. What did you get from Tyrod Taylor?
Well, I mean, he was 14 of 19 for 195 yards. He didn't throw any interceptions. He didn't make any mistakes, okay? Percy Harvin had a big touchdown. I'm going to be very interested to see how McCoy, works into the offense, okay? He didn't really have much of a game on Sunday. And he was one of their key acquisitions this year. But again, their offense is being asked basically not to hurt their defense, not to, give away points, and that's going to be really the test for them this year. I mean, Rex Ryan is trying to transform the team into like the bullying Bills now, right, with a bully type defense as opposed to the bickering Bills of the Super Bowl years.
Right.
They had a ton of sacks last year. I think it was 54 sacks and 30 takeaways. I mean, they won with defense last year, okay? But what was troubling last year to me was at the end of the season, after they had that great win over Green Bay,
yes,
they lost the next week at Oakland in a game they really needed to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, okay? And they lost that game. They had Kyle Orton there last year, and no one thought that he was going to be their long-term quarterback. Rex had a similar problem in New York. He, in the first 2 years, he thought Sanchez was going to be his quarterback, and they got to the AFC title games, and then that flamed out. It really is all going to come down to, whether the defense can carry the offense. I just don't think this offense is going to be explosive in any way, shape, or form.
I like that there are better overall coaches on this staff across the board. With Greg Roman, he's going to have to think innovative again with athletically similar quarterback to the other guy, Mr. Kaepernick in San Francisco. He's a little shorter than Colin Kaepernick, but he seems to possess all the tools. Sammy Watkins, I don't think had a catch in that game,
right.
And I'm guessing that's the chemistry because he had been, I would say, not babied through, protected through the off season, through training camp due to the hip injury, and there could have been complication from his past surgery at the hip. I really believe that this offense is going to do a little bit more this year than last year's, just from coaching alone.
Well, we're going to find out at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon when they play the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots have lost their 3 top cornerbacks.
Right.
They've lost 2 defensive tackles. They've lost a bunch of runners from last year. I mean, the one thing the Patriots have is, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. And Gronkowski has now scored 17 touchdowns in his last 17 games. And if you go over his last 50 games, he's had 48 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's a remarkable number of touchdown catches for a receiver.
Yep.
And, again, if they can stop Gronkowski or at least slow him down, okay, then you really shut down the major part of the Patriots' offense, and then you have a really good chance to win a low-scoring game. They lost last year to New England 37-22 back in October, okay? And then they beat them in the last game of the season. But, the game didn't mean anything for New England. Okay?
Right.
They already had their bye and everything. So it was a 17-9 game. But, they won the low-scoring game. So we'll see what happens, But this is a really interesting early season game, I think, okay?
It's very important, I would guess. I mean, it gets them out of the gates. Whoever wins is up in the division and is up 2-0, and the whole division is obviously 1-0 right now. I mean, I think week 2 is very important for the Buffalo Bills and for the Patriots. I was amazed of what the Patriots were able to do on the ground.
Right.
The first game, getting a journeyman running back from Indianapolis who did not play an entire season, I believe. And just to be able to plug him in that offense, and then that set up Gronkowski, and we saw what happened in that game. That was just a remarkable job they did on the ground.
Right. Again, McCoy is going to be, an important player for Buffalo. He has to have a big year for the Buffalo offense to have a big year. Okay, I don't think there's any secret there, right?
Absolutely. And to piggyback what you just said, they are putting the reins all on McCoy. I'm sure you saw it through the wire yesterday. Bryce Brown was cut as well, so now they're trimming down. And the quality of the roster is what it is at this moment with that running game. You have Dixon, you got Carlos Williams is a wild card. I'll get to that later. Extremely quick, powerful rookie out of Florida State. But it seems like, you're the man, LaShawn. Let's see what you can do, because now they're trimming down the roster for him.
Right. But again, they're getting a big player back on defense, okay, and I just keep coming back to their defense.
Right.
Marcel Darius is coming back, and that's a really big thing for Buffalo. I mean, you can win a lot of games, in the NFL with good defense, but defense alone cannot carry you to a championship game. But
you mentioned Darius. His comment yesterday, I believe, about the Patriots, everybody hates the Patriots, and I put it out there. That's what he stated. I think it's a bold move. I think it's an intelligent move after the turmoil that New England has put themselves through, and they have no one else to blame other than themselves through the Deflategate and, the Spygate over the years, and that article that was released, or that will be, or if not already, on ESPN magazine regarding that timeline from 2000 to 2007. I would guess that Rex Ryan would be saying, come on now, let me look at these guys, and they needed this to win games. And, I would, if he were to make them not take them as seriously as they are the New England Patriots, like get past the brand on the football helmet and the jersey and just say, hey, this isn't a football team, let's play him.
Well, Rex Ryan, as all coaches in the AFC East must be, is obsessed with the success of the Patriots, okay? I mean, the Patriots are there every year. It doesn't, and really the road to the playoffs goes through New England. Now, to play the Patriots in the second game of the season, it could really be a springboard for the Bills. They play a good game and they beat the Patriots, okay? If they lose a competitive game, it'll be tough to accept, but they'll move forward. They'll move forward even if they lose badly, okay?
Right.
But a win would really, I think, catapult them into a good season. I mean, they won 9 games last year. They can build off that, okay? They have to feel that if they can get 10 wins, they can get into the playoffs. And I'm sure that's what they're thinking. That this is a key early season game, and they're playing at home, and the fans are going to be just totally energized and crazy, happy, and cheering them on. So it'll be interesting to see.
Joe Valerio is on line one, the author of Second to None, The Relentless Drive and Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills by Triumph Books. ESPN, the sports reporter's producer. Let's talk about the bickering Bills. You have a chapter in that book. You brought it up. Might as well say which content, when you were timelining through Second to None and creating the overall product, what was putting together that time of history like for you?
Well, the great thing about the Buffalo Bills is in that era, okay, they had tremendous players, huge stars, okay? They, everybody talks about, the fact that they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but it was an incredible achievement. I mean, just look how hard it appears for Seattle to get to a 3rd Super Bowl this year, okay? Yeah. They've been to 2 in a row. There's no team in the NFL that has lost the Super Bowl like Seattle did last year, or any Super Bowl, okay? The losing team from the Super Bowl hasn't come back and gotten to the Super Bowl the next year since the Buffalo Bills did it 20 years ago. And that's really a testament to their 5 players that went into the Hall of Fame, okay? 5 of those Buffalo Bills went into the Hall of Fame, which none of their opponents in those Super Bowls had as many Hall of Fame players, okay? And Marv Levy also went into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So, they were an incredible collection, just a great, group of people and team. And, yes, they aired their differences out in the locker room, and sometimes they aired them out publicly. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think that's a lot better to get that out than to try and internalize it and keep it under wraps and everything. And it worked to their advantage. I mean, they were a tough, gritty team, and they had an incredible desire to win, and they came back year after year after year. And to me, it's still one of the most remarkable accomplishments in all of sport to get to 4 straight Super Bowls. Maybe somebody will equal that someday, but I don't really think it's going to happen again. I really don't.
It is extraordinary when you look back, even at that point, for them to repeat 3 other times, making it 4 consecutive years, AFC titles. Going in, have you ever had...
And you know what, Tom?
Oh, yes.
If I may...
Go ahead.
in those other years, the first year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants, the 1-point game, and the Norwood miss at the end. That was a great Buffalo Bills team.
Oh, yes.
Okay? And they were expected to win. Okay, but in the other years, they weren't necessarily the best team in the AFC. They just gutted it out and got through the playoffs and managed to win. Okay, they overachieved, and that's what I think this Buffalo Bills team is going to have to do. Okay, unless I'm very, very wrong about the quarterback situation there, and Taylor becomes a big time NFL quarterback.
Right.
I mean, there is precedent for things like that. I'm not comparing him to Bart Starr, but Bart Starr was not a celebrated quarterback. He wasn't a successful quarterback until Vince Lombardi took over the Packers, okay? Yes, he was only in the league a short period of time, but, it was Lombardi who really, helped Starr to become a great quarterback.
He has some MVPs to prove that, too, Bart Starr.
Right.
Yeah, I have another question for you. Over the years as a columnist, producer, everything you've done, which Western New York sports athlete was the best experience whom you've interacted with that you've had?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, it's an uncomfortable one to answer, okay?
Yeah.
But it would have to be O.J. Simpson. I mean, he was so charismatic when he came out of USC and when he came into the NFL. He was such a great player. I remember, I believe it was in 1976, he held out the entire preseason, okay?
Yeah.
And I was at the New York Post then, and I was covering the opening Monday night game of the season. It was the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins were a great, great team in those days, okay?
Yes.
And they'd won a couple of Super Bowls, and even though they had been depleted by the World Football League defections and all of that, they were still, a tremendous team. Don Shula was the coach. And O.J. Simpson hadn't carried the ball once all summer, and, I believe he came to contractual terms that weekend before the Monday night game. So the Monday night football game, O.J. Simpson has a tremendous game against the Dolphins up in Buffalo, and I think the Bills lost the game. But I remember Don Shula saying after the game, it's just like inconceivable that somebody can be that good and not have to practice, all summer long, and give that kind of a performance in that game. So I would absolutely have to say O.J. Simpson.
In that era, that's remarkable, and I do recall, the post-athletic years as O.J. Simpson being a broadcaster was quite good at it too, working with ABC, NBC, and so on. But yeah, that is. I guess you would say that is uncomfortable to answer. His name is Joe Valerio.
Well, it's a shame, obviously what happened.
Right,
and,
right.
He's still, he's still in the Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
You can't deny what he accomplished in his career, and nor in any way would you, with any moral person, condone what he did. I mean, I understand he was acquitted in a court of law, but everyone really pretty much believes that he committed a double murder.
Right. His name is Joe Valerio. You're listening to the Thomas Loop Radio Show on AM 1440 WJJL. Anything that you have brewing from the production standpoint for the sports reporters?
Well, we're going to hit the New England Buffalo game pretty good this Sunday, and we'll be hitting the Green Bay Seattle NFC Championship game rematch pretty good this Sunday. I don't think there's much surprise there. These are the two big marquee games, I believe, this weekend. Rex Ryan makes the Patriots game very, very interesting. He's come to Buffalo. He's determined to eclipse the Patriots, and this will be his first opportunity. So it'll be fun to see.
Your experience, what is it like being a producer in general, and when you do your craft for ESPN? What goes on behind the scenes? If you can give it general?
Well, I mean, the most fun is, laying the show out during the week and then watching it all evolve and oftentimes change on a Saturday or Saturday night. I mean, with the preponderance now of major, college football games on Saturday night, that's really, we've benefited from that because it's fresh news, and people love to get the reaction, first thing in the morning to what the experts thought about the game and the developments on and off the field. College football now is, I would tell you, is certainly the second most important sport for television networks, right behind the NFL. The appeal of college football is nationwide. Everybody goes. The alumni factor is incalculable. I mean, the interest just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's every game is on TV.
Yeah, literally.
It's amazing. I mean, it's to me, college football has clearly eclipsed, baseball and basketball as, an important sports television property.
So remarkable in which the progress of collegiate sports, let alone college football, has made over the past 10 years. And I sit steadfast pretty much all day Saturday watching Goal Line. Can't get enough of college football. Just to go along with what you've been saying.
Well, there's no shortage there for you, that's for sure.
That's right. His name is Joe Valerio. He's the author of Second to None, The Relentless, Driving an Impossible Dream of the Super Bowl Bills. Check it out on triumphbooks.com, any Barnes & Noble or bookstore across the United States. I want to thank you very much once again for your time. I really enjoyed this interview.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on this morning, and I wish the Bills the best this coming Sunday and all throughout the season, and all their fans who really have waited so long and been so loyal for a team to get to the playoffs. I hope this is their year.
A lot of people are hoping this year. A lot of people, and the hope is real for once. The hope is real.
Go get them.
Yes. Thanks again, Joe. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Joe Valerio, producer of ESPN, the Sports Reporters, just joined us live here in the Thomas Loop Radio Show, which will be